episode 2 of our Garrison Deep Dives. As we've dubbed the series, as always, I'm Adam here with Matt. How are you doing?
Doing all right.
Right. Today, it's episode 2. I think we're talking about Sabine today. Sabine's always been fun, been a great operative for Rebels. And with Ahsoka coming out, I think more people are looking back into her. So I think it's fair time to talk about her a little bit more, right?
Yeah. I think Sabine's always been one of my favorites. It's cool to see a lot of life brought back into her. I've heard a lot of chatter online and in person with a lot of players lately because Ahsoka's coming out and that juicy 2 pick that Ahsoka has. That team works with her, so we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Sabine.
Yeah. Um, so to start off, just a quick recap for everyone that doesn't remember Sabine, doesn't have her in their local metas. 125 points, jump to gunslinger, impervious nimble, with training slot, 2 gear upgrades, 2 unique gear upgrades as well. Then her armament slot with her version of the dark saber, 5 health, 2 courage, Mando saves, surge to crit, 2 black for melee, and then gunslinger rainbow pierce 1. Um, yeah, I mean, pretty good. Fully loaded, she ends up being like 154 usually. Um, so she is expensive, but she does work quite a lot. Um, as for other recaps,
Yeah.
oh sorry, what was that?
So Sabine's a pretty awesome kit, very versatile, standard Beskar saves where she's going to surge on defense. She has speed 3, so objective play is going to be real good for her. And the gunslinger is pretty good. The new cover changes are a little rough for her because she's shooting into heavy cover, but it is surge crit, so maybe you're spiking into 1 or 2, getting that pierce 1 off, really making some saves, or you're just throwing out suppression at 2 targets. Also can be good. So she's got a solid versatile kit.
And then the other thing
Yeah,
again
Adam,
with
you were
speed
saying looking
3.
at her.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah,
would say with looking at
speed
her
3.
speed 3 jump 2, you can get some out of cover shots. But moving into her 1 pick real quick, she's got arm for this round, arm 2 thermal charge. After she performs the action, performs speed 1 move. Until end of the game, she can detonate her bombs whenever she wants. Usually, it's going to be the turn that you play this card. You do not discard this card from play, just in case you don't detonate them right away. And then each of these bombs has 1 red, 1 white, surge crit blast. So it's quite a big AoE attack, technically.
Yes. So
Yeah.
normally when people play Sabine, or if you're building a Sabine list for the first time, maybe you're a newer player, or you're just looking to pick her up because you've kind of been dancing around her for a while. This is the card that makes Sabine Sabine. Most people, if you're running Sabine, they're
Yeah, this
almost
is.
always
Yeah.
going to run this card. It is the big explosions card. You throw out 2 bombs, you hit everything in range, and then she kind of laughs. And if you're lucky enough to set it up, um, you can have a gunslinger attack there first before you throw out her bombs. There's kind of a trick play there where you can last first, meaning you moved her up maybe the last round, got her in position, you're ready to go, then you play explosions, you shoot 2 targets, throw the bombs, and then move back behind a corner to safety or something. So that way you optimize your damage and throw out a little bit more suppression.
Yeah, this is the one card you don't leave at home without with Sabine. This is one you can pretty much always guarantee
Absolutely.
in the list just because it's 4 save, like throwing out 4 dice on everything, and a list will just decimate them. 2 suppression on
Yep.
everything. It's gross. As for her 2 pip, real quick, when she activates, she recovers. During Sabine Wren's activation, you may place 1 graffiti token at range 1 and in line of sight for her, touching a non-area trade. Ooh, excuse me.
Bless you.
So, as a reminder for graffiti tokens, because I think I might actually not remember this because I have never. It's spoiler
Yeah.
alert. I've never seen it like have much impact. I believe it's
Oh,
if you
I've
were in
had much
range.
impact with it. It's a good
Okay,
card.
okay. I believe the ruling is that if you are in range 1 to 2 of a graffiti token and in line of sight of it, if it is an allied or friendly graffiti token, you roll 1 extra die on rally rolls, and then if it's an opposing graffiti token, you roll one less, right?
Correct. Yep. Yep. So you're going to throw out. So what this card does, it has two effects. One, you get a free recover, which is great because Sabine has a shield card, and she can get that shield back if it's already tapped. And she has a whip card, which are her two unique upgrades. And if she has that tapped, because it's exhaustible, she can get that back. So you get those two cards back, which is great. If she's got any suppression on her, because Sabine's only courage 2, she can remove all that. The second thing, like Adam's saying, is you get to throw out a graffiti token. So that graffiti token, you just stick it on a piece of terrain, has to kind of lay flat. But any allies that can see that within range 1 to 2, they get to roll an extra die for rallying, and any enemies roll one less. So maybe you threw the bomb last turn, and you've got a bunch of suppression stacked up on your enemy. Hey, let's throw this down, and now they're rolling one less to try and rally all that off. So it's a great way to kind of just make an impact after you've thrown out a lot of suppression, if you've got a suppression list, or if you just need extra help because the rest of your army's getting suppressed. Or you just want it for the recover. That's a good use too.
I would say majority of the time, like 9 times out of 10, I think most people are playing this just for the recover, and as graffiti tokens, just kind of like a little extra bonus.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's still a good card just for that recover, if anything. As for Legated, like I say, Mandalore, her 3-pip, the only one that orders more than just Sabine, 2 troopers. Sabine gets Inspire 1, which kind of is a little negligible. It helps, but it's like, eh. When Sabine Wren issues an order to a commander, operative, or special forces unit, she gains either 1 aim token or 1 dodge token, which is pretty solid.
Yeah.
It's just good value for a 3-pip.
Yeah, it's good value to build up some quick tokens on her. Yep. Yep, so she can, and that includes herself. So to be noted there is she counts as the operative, so she can get a maximum of 3 tokens.
Yeah, so you can just end up with like three dodge tokens when you have her diving on
3 dodges or 2 dodges and an aim if you've got a key gunslinger you're trying to get off, or 2 aims maybe. Just depends on kind of the situation you're in.
Yeah. Always want that dodge though. You are always going to want that dodge. As for standard loadout, or we'll talk about her unique gears first. Sorry. First one is her whipcord electric grappling line. For 5 points, you're able to, on exhaust, choose an enemy trooper unit at range 1 in line of sight. It gains 2 immobilized tokens and 2 suppression tokens. This is basically Boba Whipcord, a little bit weaker because she can't freely move out of melee with someone now.
Ooh, hot take, Adam.
But
I know we're in the deep dive.
It's just as good.
But it's better than Boba's card.
I
Sabine's
agree.
whipcord is great in my opinion. One of the best whipcords in the game. So yes, you do throughout the. You don't get the free disengage like Boba does, but anyway, the electro grapple. So it costs an action, costs an exhaust, but it's 2 mobilized, 2 suppression. But it's good bang for the buck. This is great for tying up force users that are being pesky. It's great for tying up a hostage carrier. It's a great way to just immobilize your enemy and stop them from running away with an objective, or just getting them out of position so that they can be shot more by the rest of your army.
And also the other thing with it is that it's not a command card, so you get to use this whenever you want. You can use this on the explosions turn if need be.
Yep.
So that's very impactful there. And then of course you also get the free recover with her 2-pip, potentially with Cassian 3 if you're running that list. But multiple uses of a whipcord is massive.
Yeah, I like the note there to use it on the explosions term, Adam. I've had some games where you whip Operative Vader and then you throw 2 bombs into his face and move away, and then just he's stuck there to get hit by the bombs and be shot.
Yeah, it's a very big part of how Speed plays, I think. Yep. She also has for our other gear, personal combat shield for 5 points, not 10. She can shield a 1 and recharge 1, so pretty solid for. It's great versus high velocity, when that's big in the meta. But like in general, I think you generally are going to be wanting prepared supplies there instead for that nimble turn because as she has
Yeah,
nimble
it's a
with Mando
competitive
saves.
slot. I think the shield is great if you don't have situational awareness on her, which most of the time people are going to run situational awareness, be able to dodge crits on her. But if you don't have that, the shield is good value, especially if you're running maybe Cassian to get. He's got a 3-pip that allows you to recover as well, so you could recover that shield 2 times, for free just with command cards. So there's some debate there, but it is a very competitive slot.
Yeah. And then as for her unique armament, being the Darksaber, it is what 5 black in melee. She gains Dauntless. While defending in melee, she gains immune Pierce, and then she has Impact 1, Pierce 1 on that attack for 15 points, not the 25 on the card art there. I will say most times I feel like you're generally bringing this as a Dauntless tool, and then secondary as an anti melee tool, in that like as a melee deterrent, I guess I should say.
So I think I found a lot of play with her. If you run Hunter on her with as prevalent as multi-health minis are now, it's a lot more impactful. But yeah, traditionally the Darksaber, you swing with 5, you maybe hit 3 of them, Pierce 1. It's not a terrible swing, but it's definitely not the same as your standard Force user. And so you kind of have to build around it if you're looking to use the melee aspect of it. But Dauntless on her is great because she is only Courage 2, and so she does end up having some suppression problems occasionally. So getting that free move and always being able to move is key with the Darksaber.
Yeah. I do feel like most of the time, yeah, you are just bringing in for that Dauntless just because it's so impactful for her, especially for your recovers. And then I'll say, in a normal build here, you're always bringing the grappling line, you're always bringing Darksaber, or at least you gotta have a very good reason not to bring either of those, I would say. Um, in that training slot, you can run probably situational for that value with Nimble and Mando saves. But you can also run Hunter, as you were saying, and then
Hmm.
Prepared Supplies or Shield. Pretty much pick your poison there.
Yeah,
And
and I
I
think
do also
I
have.
was.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I
I
do
would
think
say,
there is some play
no.
if you're not wanting to take the Darksaber. Really, you're looking at taking maybe Ahsoka with her, and maybe kind of running more of a gun line. Ahsoka's your stick, and that way you're not worried about necessarily moving Sabine. You're more worried about trying to get the most out of her pistol.
Yeah. All right. And I was gonna say, the other tool that kind of gets enabled by Sabine Wren being in a list is Clan Wren, because of the way that they work with Sabine Wren, specifically because they have Retinue Sabine Wren on their card. So they're getting a lot of value out of being with Sabine because they also have Nimble, Impervious, Jump 2, Speed 3, 2 health models, Courage 2. I believe a fully with the 2 upgrades in, it's 110 points, with a slew of upgrade slots. Um, I believe a full pull here from the unit because you've got the Tristan Wren in there, which is adding the 1 to 3 lethal 1 suppressive attack, and Ursa Wren, which is giving them Dauntless, which is huge, and also Long Shot 1 with a rainbow at 1 to 2. So the whole pool is a rainbow and 4 black with lethal 1.
Hmm.
Um, but the important part here, the reason I think that Sabine enables Clan Ren to work is because of Retinue, giving them that dodge token that they have for Nimble, much in the same way that Sabine wants her dodge tokens. Um,
Yeah, and if you've
and
got that situational awareness on them, now they are dodging crits. If they're in heavy cover and they end up having to roll saves, they're red dice with surging defense. And so they're just extremely tanky. Both her and Clan Ren together are very tanky. You've got 2 units that are just going to kind of roll down the field and bare minimum take wounds.
so with all of that covered, I think we can introduce our what we're doing for our ranking system for all these deep dives. I think so. The way we're gonna give 6 ratings, I guess is what they would technically be. We're gonna have playstyle, which is just kind of like however they play, be it skirmisher, brawler, objective piece, etc., etc. And then firepower, durability, offensive play, consistency, and big play potential, big play boots, whatever you want to call it. For a rating out of 1 to 5.
Yep. So
Um,
maximum score of 25.
yeah. You can always look back and kind of see like they might get an 18, but they're going to be great at firepower and consistency or something like that. So you can kind of judge it there as well. But in general, what would you say, as a Sabine expert of the two of us, what would you give Sabine's playstyle as? What is a word that you'd use to describe her?
Oh. So that is the thing. Sabine is so flexible. She can play a lot of different play styles. I think, I mean, the biggest, like I said, she's very flexible. Sabine's going to be able to dive in, to melee if she wants. She's going to be able to pick off one or two, wounds when she needs. She's going to be there to kind of tie you up. So I would say the big playstyle there is a harasser. Much like Maul, she is, CIS Maul, she is not a threat you can just let sit on the table. Because if you do, she's going to punish you for it. Like, you have to deal with her. Because either she's going to slow down your units by whipping them, she's going to throw explosions into your face, she's going to be able to pick off one or two things. So she is just there to harass your opponent's army. She doesn't do a ton of damage, like it's not just straight firepower, but she is very much harassing you.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think of her as a harasser, as an objective piece, but mainly as a harasser.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Moving into firepower, um, I think of Sabine having either a. It's hard because it's like, are we factoring explosions into this?
I mean, I think it's a key part of her kit. I think we do have to factor it in there.
Okay.
Um,
Um. Okay, that's fair.
yeah. I mean,
Um.
if it wasn't just such a key command card that's pretty much always shown up, like if it was Boba's flamethrower, that'd be a little different. Um,
That's fair.
so
Um.
Boba's 2-pip flamethrower. Excuse me.
With explosions, I think of her as either a 3 or a 4 on firepower.
Hmm. I was gonna say 3. I mean, her firepower is pretty low. It has potential to be really high. But it's the explosion is usually a red and a white. It's blast, but you're banking on trying to get that. It blows up twice. So it's around average firepower. You can kind of really hit that ceiling, or you're just going to be middle of the row. The gunslinger is very good, but it averages about 1.5 damage, I think, something like that.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Calling out a 3. In terms of durability, I really do want to give her
Oof.
a 5 on that one.
Oh, she's a
Straight up.
5, hands down.
Okay.
I was telling somebody
Um.
when I was playing last week, I was like, Sabine is hands down probably the most durable named character in the game that I can think of that just, I mean, nimble, dodge, and 5 health that just surged on red
And
dice.
random saves. And
And
random
yeah,
saves is huge.
yeah, and then you can
Um.
give her immune pierce, and yeah.
Yeah. So it's just I'm hard pressed to not give her that. Um. In terms of objective play, um, I'd give her probably a 4 for this one personally.
Yeah, I think a
Um,
4, 4.5. I mean, I know we're probably trying to stay away from the half points, but
yeah,
I think we could settle at a 4. She's really great at chasing down a box. She can play bombing run when she needs to. She's great at whipcording a hostage turn 2 and just saying, nope, you're stuck there. It's just a great play to really kind of bring the turn the tide back in your momentum of who's got the hostage, um, and even Vaporator. She's really good at diving onto a Vap because she's so quick.
and then for other stuff like key positions and intercept,
Yep,
explosions can be huge, forcing you to walk into those bombs, potentially
yep,
suppressing or panicking them. So,
correct.
yeah,
And since it's you can blow those bombs whenever after any action, you can wait. till turn 6 and just, all right, I'm going to blow all the bombs on the key position.
So yeah, so I think she's definitely got a lot of objective play for sure.
Absolutely.
Consistency. Um, what do we for consistency? I don't know because I don't play enough Sabine personally.
So
I
I
feel
play.
like
Go ahead.
yeah, I would say I think she is somewhat consistent, but like also is like it's in a weird spot because like one of the things about her is that I think she has a higher skill floor than most characters, but also has a
Mm,
much higher skill ceiling,
yeah.
which is huge, a huge part about how she plays because like someone that really knows how to play Sabine is going to perform exponentially better um, than someone who doesn't. I mean, it's like the same idea for like every character, but like I think the gap between a unskilled Sabine player and a skilled Sabine player is probably the largest out of most, if not all, characters.
Yeah, I mean, I do think Sabine I put up there, not quite up there with Lando, but as far as Rebel characters, she is on the higher tier of play. She's easy, as durable as she is. She's an easy piece to lose if you misplay her. She's an easy piece to not get the most value out of it if you're missing key moments in the tide of battle, like when do you play the whip? When do you play the explosions? Um, and so those are kind of some key moments where you kind of have to learn, um, when do I play these moments. I've got lots of things I can do. Sabine's action economy is really high, um, and so knowing what to do when, can be the difference. But I do think is once you figure out her kit, once you learn how to play her, the the unit herself is extremely consistent. Um, Her explosions is always going to do what it needs, which is hit a bunch of units if you can get them balled up. It may not always do damage, but it's always going to guarantee almost always you're going to get 2 suppression on every unit, which is great. Maybe you'll get 1 damage on this unit, 1 damage on that, but it's going to turn the tide because okay, now suddenly every unit has 2 suppression on it. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And
So
so I think her kit in general is very consistent. I would give her probably a 4.
yeah, I could see a four.
Yeah,
I
for
agree
the
with
sheer
that.
sake of that 1 extra rating being just dice rolls, I think she's a 4.
That's fair. All right, and for big play boots, I like calling it big play boots because big play boots
Big
is
play
more fun than
boots.
big play potential. Get your big boy boots on kind of deal.
That's right.
As for big play boots, I kind of see it's like it's weird because it's like I know explosions can also be like a game changing card, but like I also think it's not as game changing as other effects in the game.
Oh, I disagree. But yeah, we both have our opinions. That's why you're here, Adam.
Yeah,
What's
that's fair.
your think? What would you give her
Um,
on the big play boots?
I would give her big play boots. Honestly, I'd probably give her about like a three for that, just because
Mm,
explosions is consistent. Um, but it's like it's not as game changing as some other cards like Change of Plans. Sorry about the mess can be. What like other ones like Son of Skywalker. In terms of like Master of Evil bombs, implacable turns. Trying to think of what else there. I don't play enough Clone Wars factions to think of the other ones, but I think in terms of like overall impact on the game when compared to everyone else, I do think that she has less of a big play boots kind of potential.
all right, so Adam's giving her a 3. I give her a 5. So I play a lot of Sabine. Anybody that knows me fairly well, knows that I've been playing Sabine probably since before Clone Wars was out, fairly consistently. I think her whip is enough big play boots. I've seen it sway games where you catch a forced user in the open. Like, it punishes your opponent's mistakes so hard if they get a piece out of place. You know, if you're like, okay, well, I'm going to move this here. Okay, well, I'm just going to whip them in place so that it's turn 5. They just went. Turn 6, they're not scoring. because they're stuck there and it's a key position, and they're not on it yet. And so there's so many big plays with that whip alone. But I think the explosions definitely cements it. Um, but I think the whip is what does it for me. If it was just explosions, I'd give her a 3.5, maybe a 4. But the whip makes her a 5, in my opinion.
I think, yeah, I think it's right to meet in the middle of the 4 there. Just because, like, I do agree
Mm-hmm.
that she has a lot of game-winning plays, but I just think in the overall scheme of things that, like, I think there's still, it's not as, like, there's chances that it's not as impactful. It's very consistent at impacting the game. I just don't think they are as impactful as some of the other plays.
Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
Up this unit for the first time, you can kind of say, hey, this is the unit for me.
so yeah, I'm definitely gonna say that she is a hard character. Maybe even very hard to play. In that sense. Because like I think like the only characters I can really think of that are harder to play properly and like to full effect is like Yoda, Palpatine. That's about it.
Hmm. Okay, I was gonna say intermediate, but I can agree to that. Um, I think she is a unit that a lot of people are going to put down on the table and get some value out of. Um, but I also think that there's going to be a lot of key moments that they miss. So, and
So
that's kind of the hard part. The hard part is getting maximum efficiency, but I think putting her down and running with her, she's pretty intermediate.
yeah. So I guess we'll say intermediate to play, very hard to master. Is fair
Yes.
because like
Yeah, I
there's
think
other
that's fair.
units that are like very that are easy to play, easy to master kind of deals. Like there's
Hmm.
she has a somewhat high ceiling she has a higher floor than most, but a very high ceiling as well.
Yeah, and I would think
Which is I
characters
think
like
a fair way to put
Han
that.
Solo is stupid easy to play. He's got a high ceiling, but he's easy to play. You put him down on the table, he walks out, shoots two things, and walks back behind a building.
Yeah.
He's fairly easy to maneuver.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. We'll see if we leave that in the video or not. um, talking about adding in the extra one. But yeah. So with that, I think her total comes up to her total is sitting at 12, 15, 20 out of 25.
20 out of 25.
80%. She's getting
Here's
a
the
B in
report card.
class. She's got a B in class. She's doing pretty all right for herself. Um,
Yeah. Yep. Sabine's a
okay.
good character.
So let's move into a couple lists real quick as we close out the video. Just give you like a direction if you're just picking up Sabine to pick her up. The first one, this was my personal list. I played a lot of Sabine when I played Sabine. This was my list to go to before the new CRB. It probably is one of my go-to lists for her post CRB as well because it's a lot of fun. Having Cassian, Sabine, K2, and Clan Wren are all amazing objective pieces. You've got the two Rebel Pathfinders to do their shenanigans as well. And of course, you have the double vets and double Mark II to kind of like round up the list a little bit. Um, it's very synergistic in that Cassian's giving a free recover to Sabine and giving Danger Sense 1 to both Sabine and Clan Wren on his 3-pip, which is just huge in terms of just more survivability there. You're bumping that survivability up to like a 6 out of 5.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've got Clan Ran or Sabine are getting kind of hammered, or even K2, like that 3-pip's going to keep them on the table a long time.
And of course, there's plenty of objective play options here. Being able to just kind of be wherever you want on the board between infiltrate and speed 3 jump 2 on 2 units is pretty impactful.
Yeah.
Might suffer a little bit now post CRB now that I think about it because Cassian can't covert ops.
Cassian can't infiltrate anymore, but that's okay.
But I think it's okay. So this is my favorite way to play her personally. Another option we have here, Sabine Ahsoka. So big part about this that we alluded to at the start of the video is her as Ahsoka's fourth card technically, being her teamwork card with Sabine. which for when Ahsoka comes out, because we're recording this in like April, so like we got a month to wait, as is right now.
Be
The two
tuned.
pip is
Tune in for the deep dive of Ahsoka. We'll get that when closer to
when she
release
comes
too.
when she
Spoiler.
but yeah, so for her two pip, it's just Ahsoka Tano gains teamwork Sabine Wren, which just if that was it on the card, be an amazing card.
Yep.
Because it's a two pip, orders both of them. And then it says at the start of Ahsoka Tano's activation, Sabine Wren may perform a speed 2 move. At the start of Sabine Wren's activation, Ahsoka Tano may perform a speed 2 move. If it was just that part of the card, really good card. Having both teamwork and the moves, insane.
Yeah, and this is the first card, I think, to my knowledge, besides Dooku's card, that gives a speed 2 move rather than a speed 1 out of the gate. So that's big.
So you stick burst speed on Ahsoka, and both of these characters moving 22 inches in one turn.
Yeah, so they're both moving
just under speed 4. Just under speed 4.
Is it?
Roughly,
well, it's speed 4 or range.
3
it's
and
like range.
2/3.
It's like range 5 though out of your deployment, I believe. Once you factor in the speed 2 move. So if you deploy on battle lines and you stick your range ruler down and you measure in your sniper range, that's roughly the distance they can move with this 2 pip if they both double move and then get the speed 2 move. So it's a very long threat range that they both have.
It's close to there, yeah. Something like that. But the other part, the teamwork Sabine Wren is also very impactful because as Ahsoka's getting an order with Defend 1 on her card, for everyone that is unfamiliar with the card, so Ahsoka Tano gets Defend 1. We'll talk about that when she comes more. But that Defend 1 dodge then goes over to Sabine, so that's another term that Sabine has her nimble dodge. So it's just kind of gross. The rest of the list pretty standard. Ahsoka, Sabine, Clan Wren, and you've got the veteran gun line and sniper strike teams to kind of just round out an act pad.
Right.
It is
so. Yeah, rather than the last list, you were kind of infiltrating everything, hunting down the missions. This one, you're really you're waiting your time out, and you're waiting for an opening to dive in both your guys. You've got Sabine and Ahsoka can both get in there close, either for Ahsoka to use the explosions or for both of them to go into melee. And once they're kind of in there, you've got a forced push and you've got the whip, and you're going to tie things up. You're going to push them around, and you're just essentially just going to be a ball of mayhem.
Yeah, and then there's also a cheeky little med droid in there as well, with having a Jedi and 11 wounds worth of Mando saves and nimble. That medbot for 2 heals is going to be worth a lot of points.
Yeah, anytime you're rolling up with Mandalorians, it's good to throw a Mando or a medbot in there if you can, just to heal them up. Sometimes the red saves don't work. It's just nice to be able to be like, oh, let's mulligan that.
All right, and then for the final list, one that's a little bit more unorthodox, I think, compared to how most people think of Sabine, but I still think very works well together.
Mm-hmm.
This one's got Han and Chewie in it with Sabine and Clan Wren, the double strikes, double vets with their heavy, double Mark IIs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
just a lot of.
You can throw a couple different, like core and stuff that you want in there, but I think Han, Chewie, and Sabine is really just a streamlined version of Flyboys from back in the day. Rather than Luke and Han, you're running with a little bit more streamlined Sabine, which can be a little bit more flexible. You've got her seize the initiative for the 1 pip to be able to run in on a 0 pip turn from Han and just kind of smash things. You've got his change of plans. And you've got Chewie to kind of guardian both of them in case Sabine's taking stray wounds. So...
yeah, so they work well together, and then of course you've got reckless diversion, which can be huge for keeping your
oh yeah, that's a good point.
Potentially for either keeping everything else safe or keeping Sabine and Clan Wren and Han and Chewie safe by throwing that on a vet unit.
Yeah.
Or you can throw that on Clan Wren and make Clan Wren the tankiest
just your tanky
around.
Yeah. All right, yeah. You gotta shoot Clan Wren. They got heavy cover, red saves, and a dodge. Oh, and they surge.
And they're cancel crits. So yeah, it seems really good.
Seems good.
So there's a lot of options there for sure. Um, but yeah, so I didn't think about how to close out these videos.
Yeah, so if you are playing Sabine a lot, or if you are interested in more tips or tricks on how to build Sabine, feel free to reach out to us at indianapolisgarrison@gmail.com. You can jump into our Discord. It is the Indianapolis Gaming Discord found on our website, indianapolisgarrison.com. Feel free to reach out to us or tell us why we're wrong. Like, how do you run Sabine? Maybe you think Sabine's terrible. That's okay. We want to hear. So
uh,
back to
I
you,
say
Ben.
also, yeah, I say also throw out if you've got any other units you're interested in having us talk a little bit
Yeah,
more about in depth, et cetera, that objectives, deployments, conditions, stuff like that. I think we're gonna hopefully be looking a little bit more at how to play certain objectives and whatnot as well.
yeah. So the
Um,
point of these videos is to kind of jump in and help give you guys, the listeners, some good previews on units you think you might be struggling with, you want to play better, or maybe missions. Maybe you've never played Payload before and you're struggling to learn how to really play it right. So we want to help you guys do that and give you the best tips and tricks on how to play Legion from kind of our experience. Um, so if you want to hear certain things, feel free to reach out to us.
yeah, yeah. As always, thank you guys for listening. Um, I don't have any fun advice.
Ooh, fun
You got
advice.
any fun advice?
Stay hydrated this summer.
Stay
Heat's gonna be
hydrated
a
this summer.
killer.
That's important. That is very important. You heard it here first. Stay hydrated.